Coach, I know I asked Brandon, I guess, what does the word consistency mean to y'all this year? I know you used it last year, and it seems to be something that y'all are kind of focused on this year.
Yeah, I mean, every team's different. Every journey's different. We try to kind of have a theme each year where we can stay grounded, during adversity, get back to who we are during some times of success, try to stay level-headed and stay committed to who we are. And certainly with our first year here, we just tried to establish, our culture and process, and still just really thankful for those seniors. I saw Aaron Ross today. He's a couple weeks away from going to his next pro job. Talked to Devin the other day on his birthday. Matt Temple is on our staff now, and those guys, just really appreciative of them. Anthony Livingston, establishing the process. The second year, we really wanted to get to where we could finish. We felt like we were part of the fight. It was our turn to kind of deserve some success, and I thought last year's team did that. We finished close games. We made a run in the tournament. We did a lot of things. And so as we enter year three, really the theme I think that everybody's bought into. It's not me, reading some fancy book. It's everybody kind of agreeing and buying into it and making the decision together, led by these four seniors. Is consistency. We've proven that we can compete. We've proven that we can be successful. Now we've got to get to where we can show that we can do it on a consistent basis. So I think this year there's a feeling around the program where it's time to kind of validate the success we had and try to show a level of consistency. And so a lot easier to talk about it than do it, especially when you're in the Big 12. But we welcome this challenge, and we look forward to the challenge of trying to be consistent.
One of the big things you like is having an old team. I guess what's the story you've seen, at least from these four, that are going to kind of help lead your team, especially with all the experience they have coming in?
Yeah, I think experience is something we have to try to continue to have on each team, to stay relative. I think some people can probably win real young in college basketball. I think, Kentucky does that, and we're going to play a Duke team this year that's really young but really good, a national championship contender. It's watching them this morning. It's why I don't feel very good. But my thing is we got to have that fine line of young talent coming in. Certainly last year with Morrow and Z and Culver, and this year with Mbala and Kayvon and Kyler. We got to be a part of the fight and recruiting and young talent. But there's a value to having experienced players. And simply stated, we just want to stay experienced, not necessarily old. If there was a relationship between age and winning, I would just be hanging out down at the old folks' home playing bingo and eating Salisbury steak, trying to find somebody that has some eligibility, but it doesn't quite work like that. But experienced players, to have these guys up here that have all played 3 years of college basketball, I think that's where the foundation of this year's team starts.
Hey, Coach, you mentioned recruiting. I mean, I know you can't get into specific guys with, current classes, but it seems like every year I ask you, how are y'all able to pull off the best class on paper in program history? And yet again, with this last class, what do those guys, new guys, bring to the table, and how have y'all been able to have this much success on the trail?
Yeah, recruiting here is not hard. We got one of the best universities in the country. Kind of laugh when people talk about location. I mean, location's what makes Lubbock, in my opinion, one of the all-time great college towns in our country. So we got a great academic institution. We got caring fans. We have great facilities. I mean, this is what we should be doing. We should be involved in some of the best recruits in the country, and that's what we're striving to do. And, again, trying to be consistent with our recruiting as well. On this year's team, our newcomers have to contribute. It starts with the two guys that were to my left a second ago with Matt and Tyreek. They could have gone anywhere in the country to play. They chose Texas Tech for a lot of reasons, but one was to go make a major impact from the first day they were here on our program. Both these guys are potential starters. They're potential best player kind of guys. I don't have a plan to win this year without these two guys having the best year they've ever had in college basketball. That's not pressure, that's expectations, and that's what Matt and Tyreek wanted when they chose to come here and play for us. Then with our young guys, junior college transfer, Deshaun Corprew has done a really good job in summer and preseason workouts. He's an exciting guy to think about with 3 years of eligibility left. Won the national championship last year with Steve Green and those guys down in Levelland. So I think Deshaun will put himself in the mix this year where he can contribute and ultimately could have a really nice career here with 3 years left. With our three freshmen, Kyler Edwards and Kayvon, two of the highest ranked recruits to ever come here. That really doesn't mean much till they get here, but it means a lot to me because they've brought that talent here and they've bought into our culture, and they're just really good team players. So I think those two guys I'll talk about in the same class that I talked last year with Culver and Z, and I think it's pretty obvious what's happening with those two guys. And then, Josh Mballa, same thing, a great spring signee. We needed to add some athleticism to our front court. Josh is just a ball of talent, man. I think he's going to end up being a really, really good college player, and I think he'll have a chance to contribute on this year's team with just how hard he plays and how willing he is, to try to get better every day. So I think that was a quick recap of our, new players coming in, and we need all of them to have great seasons to have a chance to compete at this level.
You mentioned Mballa, but what does he bring as far as to the court other than playing hard? Like, what are some of his strengths that you like?
Yeah, Josh has great size and athleticism. He's a guy that John Riley just gets excited about. He's not going to have to transform the body. He's just going to have to take the body to the next level to become an NBA, type body. And he's a skilled player. He's not just a big. Makes a lot of plays with his IQ and how hard he plays. He's a great rebounder per his position. He can guard different people. Then above all, he's another character guy. He's a guy that fits in our program perfect. He's a team-first guy. He's a great personality. He's unselfish. He's not entitled. He's a guy that's got a great future in college basketball.
And two returning guys, Brandon, who we talked about a little bit, but and Morrow, they showed definitely some flashes, especially as the season went along last year. What are they showing you in the off season, and what kind of progression do you expect for them this season?
Yeah, simply stated, guys have got to get better. Morrow's got to have a better second year than he did first. Brandon's got to have the best year he's ever had in college basketball as a senior. And I think these guys understand that. That's where the offseason starts, and understanding of what we're trying to get done. What I've seen in these two guys is a willingness to work. I think Morrow made a great commitment this summer, staying in the States half the summer, going back to his national team the other half. Brandon, same thing, stayed in town the whole summer. He's transformed his body. I think Brandon's lost about 15 pounds even since the Villanova game last year. And so I think above all, those guys have shown me a willingness to buy in, to be a part of our process, our culture, and I think they're going to have a great senior year and for Morrow's sophomore year.
And final question for me was Jarrett, just his offseason, obviously great freshman year. What do you expect of him this year?
Yeah, I was wondering if you guys maybe forgot about Culver today. Culver's a pretty good player. No, one of our core values in our program is truth-telling, and we really try to just stay in reality and not try to overthink things and just kind of put it out there. So, I say these things very confidently and with 100% belief. Jarrett Culver has a chance to be one of, if not the best player to ever play at the school, and I say that with all due respect to all the great players before him. And I think, with anybody that couldn't handle those statements, I wouldn't say it, but I know Jarrett welcomes that. Any expectation that I have on Culver or somebody else does, his own expectations and his own belief and his own confidence in himself exceed what other people can think. So where my confidence comes in Jarrett isn't his talent or his length or his athleticism or what some NBA people might be saying or not saying. It comes from his day-to-day habits and how he works and how he eliminates distractions and just simply stated gets in the gym every single day and works at his craft. So I don't want to put the weight of the world on the young guy's shoulders, but I will tell you I'm proud to be his coach. I expect great things, and I think when it's all said and done, he'll go down as one of the best players to ever play at the school.
Coach, with the Kayvon, has he been cleared yet, and how has he kind of progressed in your eyes through?
Yeah, so as y'all remember, Kayvon had a serious injury basically in the last game of his senior year, and he had the surgery shortly after in Georgia. He came here this summer, but he wasn't cleared to play. But he's done a great job. He's worked really hard in the weight room. He's worked extremely hard on his rehab. He was cleared a couple weeks ago for certain types of contact drills and non-contact. Simply stated, I think the leg is healing, but it's a process to get back to where he once was and where he'll be one day really soon as a basketball player. The positives are unbelievable attitude, work ethic, is bought in from day one. He's coachable. He's one of the best guys in the locker room. Simply stated, we love coaching him. He's a highly ranked guy with all sorts of, things hanging on him since he was a young kid, how good he is. He came in here simply with no ego, trying to get better and trying to help us win. So that's been really, really refreshing. You know, there's no young player I've ever enjoyed coaching more than I do Kayvon. He's also really working hard on his game, his skill, his shooting. We're just simply waiting for him to get healthy, and it's a process. He's going to go through some practices full speed. Other days might need a day off because of the leg, but we're going in the right direction. And I look for him to have a special season career. He's a talented player. Anything that you've heard about Kayvon is true. We just got to get him well.
Coach Riley, how important was it for Tariq to add all that weight and get his strength up?
Which player?
Tariq.
Yeah, it's everything. John Riley and his staff, I think John gets a lot of credit, which he deserves, but we also have a really good nutritionist, John, and with Dana's support, John's got assistants in that weight room. Chris Williams does a great job in the training room. We've got graduate assistants and coaches that are on the ground level of the player development. So I think John would be the first to tell you that it's a program, not just him. But I don't mind John becoming kind of a celebrity anyway. I think my plan is to win some games. Maybe John Riley has one of these reality shows one day and makes a bunch of money, and I could be like one of the sidekicks.
For you, how was surgery? How's the knee been since you've had that?
Appreciate that, man. Nobody asked about my knee. No, Dr. Crawford nailed it. He killed it, so it's getting better. And Chris has done a lot for me in the training room, and the players are starting to kind of forget about it. There for a couple weeks, I was just getting a lot of grief on a day-to-day basis, but now I can kind of halfway walk around where you don't remember. But everything's fine. No excuses. Full speed and ready for a great year of college basketball.
Coach, a lot of new pieces to this program as a whole. How would you describe the personality of your team? I know we have yet to see you guys play, but you've been working with them through the offseason and whatnot. What do you see?
Yeah, it's a great question. When you talk about personality of teams, it's kind of a work in progress because our journey's just started, right? We had a summer and a preseason. We get through these first couple practices. First couple are always kind of kumbaya, and you think you're better than you are. Then you start learning stuff about your team. Practice 3 or 4. You go through some adversity, and you start seeing how the seniors are really going to be. I don't know. The things I do know, it's a together group. I'll echo what Matt said. These guys hung out together. They eat together. They spend weekends together. So that's good. Chemistry is something that you've got to work on. I have people that tell me that chemistry just happens naturally. I respectfully disagree with that. I think it's like a relationship. You got to work on it. It doesn't just happen naturally. So these guys have worked on it, led by these 4 seniors, whether it be Norrance saying, hey, let's go bowling tonight, or Matt saying, let's have a ping pong tournament, or Brandon saying, let's coast Dominican Republic salsa dance or whatever. And Tyreek's from the city. He's a little weird to begin with, so he's got all sorts of stuff going on. But no, all 4 guys have done great. I put Culver in that same mix as the most experienced player coming back. A guy that gets a lot of individual publicity. Jared always gives it to the team. So I think it has its potential to be a close-knit team. You guys know us. We're serious about what we do, but we don't deny we're going to have a little fun along the way too. So I think we'll continue to embrace enjoying each day. But I don't know. It's a great question. I look forward to answering that as it goes on. I think last year's team had a little bit of an old man vibe to it with Keenan and those guys being set in the way. This year's team, I'm not sure. But that's what makes coaching so much fun. Every team's different. Every journey's different. But I know we're excited about what this year could bring.
Do you expect there to be a lot of competition for a starting center spot between Tyreek and Norrance?
Yeah, there's competition at every spot in our lineup. Nothing's set. I was talking to Jarrett Culver today in the parking lot, looking at the stat sheet from the preseason. I think he understands the urgency to go earn his job again. So yeah, we're a team that really doesn't have a starting lineup. We've got players we believe in and have trust, and we're going to put the best guys on the court that help us get off to a good start. I've always saw the value in a great 6-man. Over the years, some of our better teams, our best players often come off the bench. So starting lineups, I don't know. I'm probably not the best person to ask about that. But rotations, I can tell you this. We got 14 players, and they're all in the mix right now. Andrew Sorrell, better player than he's ever been, and Parker and Avery. Everybody in this roster has put themselves in a mix where they're in the conversation for who's going to play.
Yes.
Teamwork there.
Coach, you've never shied away from expectations, and with the success that you guys had last year, that has to raise that bar a little bit from outside pressure. How do you manage that, but also keep in mind that those are your expectations as well?
Yeah, a couple things on that. You know, last year has nothing to do with this year. It really doesn't. And, you know, I'm sure we'll talk about last year sometimes this year. I prefer not to talk about it every day, but it's a great season. Those seniors, so proud of them. I talked to a couple of them this morning. But it really has nothing to do with this year. You know, and so it's like the quicker you can get on to that, whether you had a disappointing, you got to move on. Whether you had some success, you got to move on. You know, like I think when you watch Coach Saban's press conference today, you wouldn't have any idea that they won the national championship last year. It doesn't, because it's about the day, it's about the moment, it's about the precious present, it's about the process, not the outcome. I mean, so expectations, you know, are pretty simple around here. We want to win every game on the schedule. There's a way to do that, and whether it's a real difficult way to do, you're a big underdog, can still be done. Or whether some days everybody thinks you're supposed to win, there's a big responsibility to get it done. So what we're trying to do this time of year is get better every day. Each individual player get better, each coach get better, our team get a little bit better every day, and then, you know, move towards competition coming soon. But the expectations, you know, we'd like to compete and win every game on our schedule. It's easy to talk about, really, really hard to do, but, you know, if winning was easy, then everybody would. So, you know, we think that we should be a team that continues to be a part of the fight.
Speaking of that, last year you guys went from the transition to being the hunters to, for the last half of the year, being the hunted. How much does that help this group that is going to be pretty much hunted from day one with regards to people trying to beat you guys with everything they've got?
Yeah, I think with every experience, it makes you a better person or more prepared for whatever you do. For us, it's college basketball. I think it's about learning from your adversity, maybe some of your failures, and it's also about learning from some of your successes. You know, you can learn from both. So I think the players that played on this team last year, all sorts of lessons. And, you know, in coaching, it's our job to kind of remind them of those things, but also, you know, look forward. And I would say the same thing with our new players. You know, Corprew won a national championship last year. He learned a lot of lessons. Matt was on a really good team. Tyreek played for a first-year coach at St. John's and kind of went through the ups and downs of that, but was on a team that beat Villanova and was on a team that had some bad upsets too. So, like, every guy on our team has experiences. It's about each guy bringing that to the table and then channeling it into our team and what we're trying to get done.
Coach, I know you announced the new student manager, Colin Baxter, and his dog. How did that come about in giving him that position? And can you tell us a little more about his story?
These are a little different than me, you and Jeremy hanging out in the hallway, aren't they? Where they took about 2 minutes. Questions about Colin Baxter. We got new players. We've also got new coaches, obviously with Tim, Sip, Brian Berg elevated. Got new graduate assistants, former players like Ronald Ross and Matt Temple coming home. I know I'm missing a lot of people, but certainly with our student managers this year, we've got some good guys that are we're looking forward to getting in our program and helping us. And then my friend, not often I can say that. I haven't hired many friends over the years, but Colin will be one of our student managers. He's a senior here at Texas Tech. He's a history major. And, you know, Colin's story is well documented, and I'm proud to say it. He's overcome a lot of adversity, but we're excited to have him in our program. And, you know, make no bones about it, it's not some kind of fluff deal either. He's a real part of our program. He works every day. He'll be out here in a few minutes working at 3 o'clock and doing his part for Tech basketball. But we're proud to have somebody like Colin with his character, his toughness, everything he's about in our program. It's big for us.